Hey, peace world. Let me jump right into my bite down boxing talk. And I'm gonna put this disclaimer out there. Take these off. I'm gonna put this disclaimer out there that I'm really out of the loop in terms of of internet boxing or online boxing, what the circles are saying, and the YouTube community. I'm really just way out of the loop. So maybe I'm just not seeing the chatter. So I could completely be wrong in what I'm asking, but I just watched the better part of 60-something, 67 college basketball games. I don't recall seeing one Errol Spence Jr. versus Spence-Ugas commercial in any of that. And I'm just asking, has the criticism or the questioning of the promotion, has that not happened compared to what I saw and heard with Terrence Crawford and Sean Porter? Is it just hands off on this fight? I mean, it's next weekend, right? April got here very quickly, I will admit that, but I just, I don't see them doing a whole lot different from how Terrence Crawford and Sean Porter was handled, and I don't hear anything. Now they've come out and done the Brian Custer, whatever his podcast is, The Last Stand. They've used all of their own platforms that they have and their own programs that they have. There might even be, I think there's something on Showtime's YouTube channel that I would assume it's on Showtime, but it's kind of some shoulder programming or some pre-fight content that they have out. I haven't even watched it. And I'm gonna keep it funky. I'm probably not buying the fight, and I don't hate on the fight. I wouldn't tell others, don't buy that to make a point, or you can express your whatever by not. I'm not even on no type of campaign like that. I'm just saying I really don't have any interest in Spence-Ugas. Good dude. Seems like a very good dude, and I like most of his story. But the fight, the card itself, I'm just not getting anything from it. So, and I keep it even funkier. I'm not buying many of these pay-per-views coming up. Fury and White, not happening. Canelo Alvarez and Dimitri Bivol, not happening. So, in this, and let me back up for a second. I might finally get to call into my partner's podcast tonight and kind of defend myself after a couple of statements were made or questions were asked about what I was talking about or how I said certain things. I might call in tonight. I think it's gonna rain tonight, so I can't get out and do my little cycling thing. So I might call and try to finish or restate what I already stated, and that it's really not an attack on Showtime Boxing or PBC. It's just it's just kind of hitting a point with boxing where it costs too much. It costs me too much to follow it. I think, and then for me, looking at this for the Errol Spence Jr. Fight, and looking at this, you know, he's nowhere. This is not a disrespectful statement or anything, but obviously he's nowhere near many parts of the Floyd Mayweather Jr. Career arc and where he got to with pay-per-view. But he's not that kind of star. He doesn't generate that type of, he doesn't bring in the non-boxing fans or the casual boxing fans, the event seekers. He just doesn't do that. And I can't really, what I will say is when I was buying the Floyd Mayweather cards and while the opponent may have fluctuated, my interest in that opponent may have fluctuated, the card, I usually had some interest in the card. I don't really have any interest in this Spence-Ugas card. And I would just say it's timing. Like, Mayweather had a chance. He was bringing along some of his guys. I know on the fight against Canelo Alvarez, he had Danny Garcia on there against Lucas Matisse. And then he had his guys that he had with him. I think Jalen Love might have fought that night. Badu Jack might have been on there. But he was bringing along some of his own people. And Errol Spence Jr. really just, that hasn't happened for him. There aren't 2 or 3 or 4 guys that he's grooming or helping out. That's just not the case. So for me, just the packaging overall just isn't there. And then you guys just, you can hit me with they passed the torch with him fighting Manny. I didn't buy that one either. So I'm just not you guys just tough guy, solid fighter and whatnot, but I'm just cool on the fight. But I did think, like I said, I just watched 67 games and over 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks or whatever it was, 2.5 weeks, and I didn't see one ad for it. That's just kind of weird to me, but it is what it is. And maybe some things pick up over the next week or so. And the weird, just, with DAZN, and this is not in defense of DAZN, but their issue is they can't, because it's the platform that it is, when they do TV ads, they're limited on how they can, sell their product or attempt to sell their product. They really can't give viewers all kind of the right details to even subscribe to them. So it really doesn't make a lot of sense. All their TV ads have kind of went away. But I did hear a decent interview yesterday. This kid won't be on the, I don't even know if this kid's fight will make it to any platform, but he is fighting that night. This is a kid from, he was a former Team USA fighter that's based out of the Houston area, I think, or he's in Texas. But it's just his second fight. But I thought the kid was really interesting. His name was Dennis Fulgham or something. I did catch an interview with him, but nobody wants to see Dennis Fulgham fight at this point. But I did see that. I did see him on there. He would be kind of interesting for me, but it's way too early for his fights to be put on. But the rest of the card, here we are. 12 days out or whatever. I really couldn't even tell you who the card is, to be honest with you. I don't have the interest in it. I don't know. Anyway, this weekend, I mentioned the Ryan Garcia fight and Emmanuel Tago. You obviously know what's going on with that one. I did forget to mention Erickson Lubin and Spence-Ugas and for the Showtime card this week. I talked on this a couple of weeks ago, and it was kind of a tough position for the fighters because all the belts are only with two guys, so it's not like the up and coming guys or the contenders. It's not like you have a lot of options to get to the championship. Like you got to fight the best fight available because of where the titles are in the division. So Sebastian, and Erickson Lubin got to get it on. And the thing with Lubin, which I mentioned before, is like this dude can't outlive the optics of being stopped in the first round against Jamal Charlo years ago. So there's just no rush to put him back in the championship bout, especially against a dude with the last name of Charlo. So he's kind of waiting around. And Fundora, who was, somebody that they've invested in and put a couple of fights in, he has to fight a dude who very likely is going to beat him. I think Lubin is going to beat Fundora. I don't want to say Fundora is like this freak or this sideshow or nothing, but I don't know what he is. I don't know what I'm watching. This 6'4", 6'5", 154-pound dude. Super welterweight. I don't know if the kid has staying power or not. I don't know if he's a legitimate contender or not. But I think it's a pretty good Showtime fight. I believe they're going 12 rounds for this one, because I think it puts somebody, the winner I think becomes a mandatory or something. So I'm pretty sure it's a 12-round fight. Off the top of my head, I don't remember the other two fights that'll be on the show, but I remember thinking this. I want to see the fight. Again, even if Lubin was to dominate the kid, would there be any interest? Would there be any rush to put Lubin in against the winner of Jermell and Castano, or would it have to be Castano would need to be the winner, and Lubin could get a crack at him if Tim Tszyu didn't get in the picture, because I think he might have an inside track on the WBO belt. So, but yeah, I don't know. I'm hopeful that this weekend's main event is a good fight. And maybe Fundora has improved over the last, since his last fight and been in the lab working on his craft and whatnot, and maybe he is something, but he just doesn't jump off the screen for me. So I don't really have a lot of regard for the guy. Lubin, I think Lubin has had some highlight moments. And he's just kept his head down and tried to rebuild. They didn't kick him to the curb after the big loss, the embarrassing loss. And he's just trying to be the last man standing in terms of when there's an opportunity for these belts, that he can get a shot. So him and Cunningham have seemed to have a decent relationship and some success in the ring together and whatnot. So I want to see what the next chapter of that is about. Also this weekend over on the Zone, Gennady Golovkin, right at about 40 years old. I guess he's been inactive since 2019 against Zaramita was his last fight. I didn't realize that was that far ago. Maybe it was the end of 2019. But obviously, you know, when you have an older guy, older fighter, highly inactive, you know, and then everything that he has on the table for him with the bout, the trilogy bout with Canelo being out there, if he's victorious, you know, he has a lot to live up to this weekend with this fight against Ryota Murata. And Murata hasn't been all that active himself. Olympic gold medalist for Japan, decent following in Japan. Golovkin will be over in Japan dealing with being a visitor. I don't think Japan fans are really a hostile crowd. It's a pretty respectful society in general. So, you know, it's not like he'll be made to feel uncomfortable or anybody hating on him, but they'll be rooting for Murata, who, like I said, is highly regarded, being a native son and all of that type stuff. So, but who knows what to expect from Golovkin? You know, still tinkering around with what to expect from him and Jonathan Banks. You know, Banks wanted him to do some things much differently than Abel. You know, that relationship didn't end too well. They really, you know, after years of some good magic, you know, as Golovkin got older, skill set changed up a little bit, strengths became, you know, maybe not weaknesses, but things that weren't as effective as they used to be. And you know, they thought it was time to retool. So he's with Banks. And Banks is one of those guys who kind of needs, you know, he's kind of doing a lot of explaining after some of these victories, you know, and is really just trying to establish himself as one of the go-to trainers. It's kind of difficult to do that when you get fighters at the end of their career and you're trying to retool a guy, or, you know, help a guy extend his career or teach an old dog new tricks, you know, and all of that type stuff. But that's the gig. But I'm just hoping that the fight is pretty decent. Murata came back and looked good in a rematch against Rob Brandt, but the way that he was defeated by Rob Brandt, you know, it kind of it knocked him down a little bit in terms of a fighter that was on the that was generating a little bit of a buzz. And then we didn't see Brandt didn't have a lot of staying power. So who knows what to expect from Triple G, you know? Who knows? I know they, you know, the idea was get him into more of a rhythm fighter and move and box a little bit more. Maybe isn't that seek and destroy type of guy anymore. You know, maybe the power isn't there like it used to be, or however you want to look at it. But he definitely, you know, would need to have a good showing to really, I think the casuals and the zone related affiliated media, they continue to hang Canelo Golovkin over our heads like it's a fight that we need to see. But I think a lot of hardcore fans, you know, limited interest in that fight, in all honesty. Like we understand the business and the need for it, and maybe the zone really wants to close. They want to check that box and say that we did it. We told you what you know, they were trying to execute some things 2 years ago when they invested in these big names, and then everything didn't happen as according to plan. So they would probably like to be able to close that loop and say, hey, we got one of those fights done. But it in my opinion, it's a fight that a lot of hardcore people, a lot of hardcore fans, we probably are pretty confident that we know the outcome if there is a trilogy bout. But that's what we're being offered. So we'll see what happens with Golovkin and Murata. Thought there was one other item I was going to talk about. I'm almost at the end of my commute in today. But yeah, I did read the article on you guys. They keep hanging it out there that whatever is going on with Terrence Crawford and PBC possibly. Again, I don't do much of the rumor mill. I don't live near any gyms. I don't talk to other fighters or people inside the camp. I don't have those types of connections. I see one brother on here make a video every other day about who Terrence Crawford is going to fight or what the deal is with the PB. And none of that shit has been true over the last 3 weeks. And the dude just continues to throw shit out there. I ain't trying to get nobody to click on my shit. I don't know what's going on, but I guess at this point, if some talks are happening, some things are being put together, it really wouldn't make any sense for an opponent for Terrence Crawford to be settled on. The best thing to do would be to wait for the outcome of the fight and go from there, and then try to hopefully do it behind the scenes if they can get anything done. But what the story has been is that you guys has actually has mentioned Terrence Crawford and has actually expressed some interest in fighting him. And from the story that I read, he was just saying that his styles match up better against Errol Spence Jr., I think, compared to where he'd be fighting Terrence Crawford. Again, I'm not blown away by you guys. Tough guy. He's another guy that's kind of kept his head down and got the wins that he needed to get to be in the position when opportunities could be pushed his way, and he was standing there able to step in. And then he goes in and he beats he gets the call for Manny Pacquiao, which wasn't going to happen for him. He gets the call because of the injury for Errol Spence. He goes in and he beats the guy that they wanted to pass the torch to Errol from. So I don't really hate the dude, but he's just not special in any kind of way for me. Like I said, a good dude. I follow his Instagram account. Very thoughtful guy. He's a huge fan of boxing. He he attends most of the fights and seems to be one of the better ambassadors of boxing. A lot of the boxers don't even give a shit about boxing. They don't go to a lot of the other fights. Keith Thurman came out and said he couldn't even figure out how to buy the pay-per-view for Porter and Terrence Crawford, whether that was a snipe or a shot or not. A lot of fighters really don't even try to help to sell the game for it to be the way that they earn a living. And you would think that guys would want as much interest as possible in the sport. But you talk to a lot of the guys, or I've talked to a lot of fighters in the past, the guys who are mid-level and above, and a lot of them are just like, I don't watch a lot of boxing. It just very, they're not on fire for boxing. And, I just think with most of the other sports, a lot of the athletes support the sport that they're involved with. And you don't really get that a lot of times in boxing. That's just my observation. But yeah, for him to say that he's better suited for, or he's better, or Errol Spence is a better matchup for him, or he is tailored for his style or whatever. I guess I can't really say I disagree with the guy, but like I said, this fight really just, and like if I call into dude's podcast tonight and really speak my mind on it and try to defend what my original thoughts were, I would be more excited about this fight and this pay-per-view. I would be excited about it if I really had a lot of confidence that it was leading to the fight that we all want and that we've all been waiting for 3 or 4 years. And in all honesty, that's just not the vibe that I'm getting. And I'm tired of being dragged along and my interest in something being kind of used against me. You know, I don't like being fooled around with, after a certain amount of time. And then for the magnitude of the fight, I don't know. I don't know when some boxing fans and some people, I don't know when you start taking shit personal that somebody is messing with my time and my interest and being manipulative of me and my money. And at this particular time, Spence and Crawford, what is a phenomenal fight. It's probably the best fight, for me, it's probably my best fight in boxing. But against all other big time fights throughout the years, like I feel like you bullshitting now. Like these two guys ain't worth all of this, in my opinion. But yeah, if I had some kind of real confidence that, hey, we getting this out the way so we can do the big one later on this year, I'd be super excited about it. But I feel like we could get a victor. I think we could get a victor next week. And the next day, a lot of shit is still up in the air on what direction the winner of Spence-Ugas will go in. And I'm just tired of that storyline. That's just where I am with it. So anyway, I'm gonna watch a little more closely over the next week or so and see if the promotion picks up away from Showtime's and the PBC's different platforms and whatnot. I'll see if it happens. But like I said, I really haven't seen a lot of publicity on this fight or a lot of promotion on this fight in comparison to what I saw the last 2 weeks for Crawford and Porter. And it was weird because a lot of people wanted to bash Terrence Crawford and his resume and his record and all of that. And then people were excited when the fight was announced and Sean Porter was the guy. And then as the fight started coming around, it almost like something changed, and then it became to criticize. It became trendy to criticize the fight and the way that it was being promoted or the lack of promotion. And it was like, what's going on here? So it is what it is. Hey, I got to get out of here though. And a lot of fights this weekend, so enjoy all the action. I'll holler at you then. Peace.